So now I'm going to, you guys can just leave that slide up there if you want, but I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit on a heart-to-heart basis here now. And this is not easy for me. I was quietly thinking, when's the last time I actually shared my testimony? Properly, not just in pieces. It's been a while. It's been a while. And this is not easy for me. That's why when Uncle Nick asked me to come here tonight, I was like, no. Let me do my social media talk. Let me talk about digital evangelism. And he just said, no, we really want you to speak about your story and touch on drug abuse and substance abuse. And for me, what we are really touching on here is human nature and sin. So let me start here and give you guys a bit of context. Way back, far away, long ago, 1978. Wow, that's a long time ago. Not really, I'm still young. But there was a girl who was 15. She fell pregnant. And thank goodness now, I'm going to touch on a lot of points here in my testimony because I'm not going to say it's a blessing to do this because it wasn't a blessing to go through and live through the story, but God can use those things, regardless of how bad they are, to hopefully shed light on certain topics in the world and hopefully broaden your horizons a little bit if you haven't thought about these issues or heard them being spoken about in a church before. But my birth mother was 15, barely 16 when she fell pregnant with me. My birth father was in his mid-20s. This was back in the 70s now when this was completely socially unacceptable. Young girls were not getting pregnant outside of marriage and having babies with men who are 10 years older than them at that kind of age. She absolutely loved this guy. She sort of came from a blue-collar family, not a lot of money. He came from a very rich farming family in the Eastern Cape. And they just thought that she fell pregnant because she wanted to be part of this family and have their money. Age-old story. So his family wanted nothing to do with her family, put her under a lot of pressure. She had to run away to her grand's place, where her grand was living on a farm in Queenstown in the Eastern Cape. And she didn't have an easy pregnancy. She gave birth to the baby 6 weeks premature. That baby was then rushed through to the East London hospital, given up for adoption straight away. She wasn't allowed to keep that child. Put into an incubator. For the first 6 months of that baby's life, it fought for its life. It was translucent. You could see its organs. I was probably the size of this glass, a size 3 shoe for a small child. And I had no interaction with people for the first 6 months. I didn't know, on the other side of this story, there was a lady who could not have her own children. And she'd started applying for adoption through the social services in South Africa at that time, 7 years before I was even born. And after I was taken away from my mother, put into this incubator, put into East London Hospital, social services got hold of my mother, my adopted mother, and said to her, hey, come through to East London Hospital. We've got something we want to show you. And she told me the story of her walking into this maternity ward and the social services officer saying, there is a child there in all of those tubes in that incubator. If you want it, it's yours. And I remember my mom telling me, I walked up to that incubator, and when I looked at you, I knew, and I just turned to the social service officer and said, that is the son that God has given me to take home with me today. Now, that was me, obviously, if you didn't know. My mom was a devout Christian. I've never seen someone pray more than my mother my entire life. She was praying even when she got on the bus to take me to school. She'd be praying. People thought she was talking to herself, and I was highly embarrassed, but she was a prayer warrior. I wasn't born into an amazing home. My dad was not a Christian. He hated the Lord. There was a lot of friction and abuse between him and my mom, both emotionally. There was a bit of physical abuse on his side towards me and my sister. He was an alcoholic. I can't remember him not drinking more than 3 bottles of vodka a day, 4 packets of cigarettes a day his entire life. My mom had to scrape and try and get money to get food on the table, to buy school clothes, to get us to school. Everything was just a labor. Nothing was easy. But my mom was a devout Christian. And I can't remember as a young boy my dad ever saying he loved me, shaking my hand, putting me on his lap, supporting me in anything. There was just a very hateful relationship there. I don't know, maybe it's because I wasn't his blood. I'm not too sure. I won't know the answers to those questions until I get to heaven and see him one day, hopefully. But I could have been aborted, guys. In South Africa now, post-1997, you've got the Termination of Pregnancies Act, which means that any young girl under the age of 18 without parental consent can walk into any clinic if she falls pregnant, and she can terminate that pregnancy or kill that baby. And we've now got a generation, just like they've grown up with social media, they've got a generation that's now grown up with abortion being normal. They've been indoctrinated. It's not their fault. So we can't really point fingers and shout at them. We've got to show them the answer to that problem. But I was blessed that I was able to be born. And to cut a long story short, I grew up, and when I was about 11 years old, my mom took me to church for the first time. Looking back on it now, I can't say that I was saved. I went to church because I loved my mom to bits. I went to church because my mom wanted me to go to church. I don't remember reading my Bible at home. I don't remember praying at home. I don't remember doing anything to do with God or church outside of church. When I was at school, I was a rebel. I was violent. I was nasty in class to the teachers, wanting to get kicked out of class all the time. But I was an A-grade student at the same time. So there was this duality about me where I was an extreme rebellious person, but I was also an A-grade student. I think that's what kept me in school most of the time, was me having good grades, not my attitude or the way I treated people, because I was horrible. And when I was at church, we used to close our eyes to pray. I used to have one eye open looking at the girls in the pews. I wasn't there for the right reasons. My mom thought I was saved. So my one thing I can say to parents that are here tonight, if your kids have grown up in church, please make sure that they realize that they have to get to a point where they've got a moment that they've got to go and ask the Lord into their hearts. Because I speak to a lot of kids and I say to them, when did you give your heart to the Lord? No, I just grew up in church. Okay, there has to be a moment, guys. If you can't pinpoint a moment when Jesus came into your heart, and I speak to the youngsters and the elderly here, but mostly the youngsters, if you can't pinpoint a moment where you can't remember asking Jesus to come into your heart and feeling that heart change and having that relationship with him, seriously consider doing that tonight. Don't wait until tomorrow, because anything can happen. And I don't want to see anyone not having that opportunity to be with me in heaven. So I grew up, high school was terrible, everything was terrible. I robbed my first store when I was 15 as a Christian, going to church. I had a crew, got them together, and we robbed you guys won't remember this, but back in my day, we had VHS tapes. And we had video stores where you used to go and rent a VHS tape and put it into the machine, and it had magnetic tape that used to play the movie for you, and then you would take the VHS back. No Netflix for $10 a month. You had to go and rent something. And I remember robbing this video store, and even though I was a Christian, I was drawn to this other world. I always had this thing, even from I think back to my youngest ages, and all I remember is wanting to be this little mafioso. Having this little mafia family, building myself an empire, and just raising my children to take over the empire, me retiring like the Godfather, sitting back and watching the next generation take over, having all the money and power in the world. But yet I was going to church. Don't think I was saved. And we cased this joint out. I worked there for a couple of months to get out the lay of the land. Robbed the store. The police still came to our house, asked my mom questions. She said, no, my son was sleeping. He was at home the whole night. Sunday morning, he went to church with us. Wasn't him, could not possibly be. He's going to a Christian school now, because the government schools didn't want me anymore. So I had to go to a Christian school because I was such a crazy person. And I got away with it. By the time I was in high school towards my matric years, even though I was going to a Christian school, I had a little crew, and we used to go and rob the varsity students of their mountain bikes. The guys would park their mountain bikes, chain them up, and go into lectures, and we would go past with our chain cutters, cut the bikes up, 5 or 6 of us, we'd each get onto a bike, ride them back to one of our houses, strip the bikes down, and we would then reassemble them with different parts. We would sell a lot of them, and we would keep 1 or 2 of them so that we could ride around on Lani mountain bikes. So my point with these few stories is I didn't have a relationship with God at all. I was going to church, doing all the right things for all the right people except for myself. And by the time I finished matric and I was leaving the house to go and study, And I alluded to this earlier when I was praying and I used to keep one eye open looking at the girls. I loved ladies. I really just wanted to have a girlfriend all the time. I wanted to get married. I wanted to have kids. And I loved ladies. They were, I think for most men, it's their Achilles heel. If it's not in a Christian relationship, it becomes a bad thing, not a good thing, especially when you were like me. I used to get involved with all the wrong girls, do all the wrong things from a very young age, even though I was in church. And I eventually got to a point where I was going to a new church. I met this girl. I thought, now this is the one. I'm going to marry this girl. I was praying to God. I've got no relationship with God, guys. I'm a thief during the week. But I'm going to church and I'm praying to God and I'm going, Lord, if this is the one for me, please, I want to marry her. She's the one. I'm pretty sure she is. And she was praying as well. And she went to her mom. She said to her mom, Mom, I want to marry Vaughan. And the mother just said, no chance. No chance. I've asked God and this is not your husband. So I remember getting on my motorbike, driving to their flat, walking into the flat, and I thought the mom was sitting us down to give us their blessing, to say, yes, no, you can be with my daughter. And I sat down and the mother said to me, listen, God has said to me that you are not the one for my daughter. I prayed about it and there's something wrong here. I don't feel in my spirit that this is right. And I remember sitting there looking at this lady and going, sorry, hang on. Are we serving the same God here? This is a guy with no relationship with Jesus, guys. Are we serving the same God here? Because I've prayed and God has told me that this girl is for me. How can the God that you serve say that she's not? We're obviously serving different gods. And I got up out of that meeting, walked out in a rage, got on my motorbike, left, and I just remember turning my hand up at God. And I mean, this is the grace sometimes that we are under, guys, because I look back on this now and I think, Lord, if this was Old Testament, you would have struck me with lightning dead, or I would have been like Ananias and Sapphira falling dead on the ground. No more after that. But I remember turning my hand up at God and going, you know what? I'm not denying that you're there. I'm not even saying that I know you, but I know that there is a God. I knew that without a shadow of a doubt, that there was a God. And I said, but I'm choosing not to serve you. I don't want to be pretending to be a Christian on a Sunday anymore. I don't want to be pretending to be anything. I want to go and find the darkest places on the planet, and that's where I want to make my home. You can't be part of that. I'm out of here. It wasn't even a couple of months after that, I was in gym, and two of my mates said to me, hey, now this is the late 90s. They said to me, hey, Vaughan, you've been in church your entire life. You're wet behind the ears. You've never drank. You've never smoked. You've never been clubbing. You've never done nothing. They said, there's this club that's open in Durban, in 330 Point Road, called 330s. It's a rave club. What's a rave club? I was a musician. I played guitar, played drums, played keyboard, used to write music. And they said, no, it's this like doof music. It's all electronic. And I thought, that's not real music. I'm not into that. They said, no, it's the new big thing. It's just brand new. We need to go and have a look at this. I said to them, okay, cool. Now, for you guys to understand this, I'd never been to a club. I'd never drank. I'd never smoked. I'd never done anything. Yes, I'd robbed people, and I'd stolen motorbikes or mountain bikes, and I'd robbed video stores, but I'd never, ever done anything like alcohol or cigarettes or drugs or anything like that, or gone clubbing. We go down to this club, and I remember walking into this club, and I didn't know what was going on. Guys were... They were so hot that the steam was rising off of their bodies in this club, that everyone was sucking on lollipops. The guys had sunglasses on in the middle of the night. I couldn't understand why. The music was terrible. It was just a goof, 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 goof all the time. And I was like, what's this guy doing here? He's got these vinyl things and he's scratching and mixing and what. I'm a live musician. I wasn't into this nonsense. I'm standing at the back of the dance floor and I'm minding my own business. I lost my friends. I don't know what happened to them. They went on their own journey there. I'm sitting and drinking my water, like this water over here. Thank you. And I remember not having a good time. I just wanted to go home and I was trying to find my friends. And I was standing and I was looking at all of these people going crazy, massaging each other and doing really weird things that I'd never seen before, and I couldn't understand what was going on. I didn't even know what drugs were, so I couldn't even say they were on drugs. You must understand, that's how green I was, even though I was a thief and did a lot of other things. And I remember I said to you guys I had a weakness for ladies. Obviously, it was going to be a lady that did this. And I remember seeing this girl bop in between all the people on the dance floor, and she was little pigtails, glitter all over her face, nice little outfit. And she came running up to me and she's like, "Why do you look so sad?" And I was like, are you joking? Like, are you serious even? Like, look at this place. I mean, these people are crazy. I don't know what's going on here. This is not even real music. She said, "Yeah, but doesn't it look like everyone else is having a good time?" I'm like, "Yeah, but, but at the same time, I don't want to be too horrible to her because like now I'm like, hey, this is quite nice looking." I talked to her a little bit. And she says to me, "Sorry, can I ask you a question?" I said, "Yeah, sure." She says, "What do you do when you've got a headache? When you've got a headache and you need to get rid of the headache and you're not feeling well?" I'm like, "Oh, that's simple. I take a tablet." She says, "Exactly. You take a tablet." I'm like, "Yeah, and she pulls out this white tablet and she says, "You see this tablet?" I said, "Yeah." She says, "This is ecstasy." She says, "This is a designer drug. It's got no physical addiction qualities to it. You might get psychologically addicted to it because it's going to make you feel really nice. But this will take away all of the bad things you're feeling tonight, and it's going to make you feel really amazing." I said to her, "Sportsman, gymmer, I don't drink, I'm not into this kind." She says, "Listen," she said, "what have you got to lose?" She said, and the thing that hooked me was, she said, "It'll make you feel like you've been born again." Now, I'd heard the word born again all the time because I'd been going to church. And she said to me, "Imagine seeing for the first time, imagine feeling for the first time, imagine tasting for the first time, imagine everything for the first time as if you've just been born. That's what this is going to do." I suppose I don't even have to tell you guys what I did. I took the tablet. 40 minutes later, everything she said came true. Fast forward the story now, because I don't like glossing over the craziness that happened. I'm just giving you this first encounter so you can understand how crazy it got after that first encounter, because it never stays like that. Once a month, I'd go down to Durban, take one ecstasy tablet, and that happened for about 7 or 8 months. Then a rave club opened in Pietermaritzburg, and I started going to that rave club every weekend, taking one tablet every time. Still doing gym, still playing sports, still studying. I had everything under control. Then I started doing it more often. And then it was, well, I wonder, now you must understand, so my very first drug wasn't alcohol, wasn't marijuana, wasn't cigarettes, it was ecstasy. Then I was like, what happens if I do marijuana when I'm on ecstasy? How's that going to feel? Then it was, what is tequila going to be like when I'm on ecstasy? What is smoking cigarettes going to be like? So I started doing everything else to experience what that would be like to make my ecstasy better. This led to an everyday life cycle of me now starting to do everything every single day. I started DJing. And while I was busy DJing, I remember seeing this group of guys. Now, these guys they had everything. They were built like tanks. Obviously steroid junkies, but these guys were like built, wore their camo pants. Now this is going back a few years, guys. Camo pants, big tackies, short little white vests, muscles bulging everywhere. They had all the money. They drove all the latest motorbikes. Every after party, because I started DJing at after parties, every after party that I went to, these guys were there. And they just didn't have to work. They just had mountains of drugs all over their tables. They had cocaine, ecstasy, acid, everything that you could think of. I'm DJing at these after parties, and I'm seeing all of this, and I'm thinking, hey, you wanted to be a mafioso. You've still got this little vision in your head. How did these guys get there? How did these guys get to that point? I want to be like them. So I remember going up to these guys. There were 6 of them. And I said to them, "Hi, guys. Weird question. How do I do what you guys are doing?" And I just remember them all laughing at me, looking at me, going, "Vaughan, bro, you've got a reputation, you're a DJ, the girls dig you, you're making good money. Why would you want to come and do this?" I'm like, "Are you kidding me? Are you guys even being serious? Everyone loves you, you're the talk of the town, you've got all the money, all the drugs, all the girls, everything. Why wouldn't I want that?" And I remember the one guy looking at the other guy and saying, "Vaughan's not serious. He wants to give up what he's got and come and do what we're doing." And I said, "Guys, you don't understand. Since a small boy, all I've ever wanted to do was get involved in syndicated crime, be a little mafioso. Please, just give me a chance." And I remember the one guy saying to me, "Listen, yeah, it doesn't work like that, buddy. And I'm going to tell you this now to warn you and hopefully put you off." Because they tried everything to stop me. I'll be honest with you. They said, "Listen, once you step over from that side of the curtain to this side of the curtain, it'll never be the same. You'll never see partying the same way. You'll never see all the clubs that you go to the same way. You'll never see the festivals the same way. Everything will change. I said, I don't care. This is not what I want to do anyway. This is all superficial stuff. I want to be where you guys are. How do I get there? Just give me the steps. Tell me what I have to do. And these guys said to me, listen, if you are serious, we'll have to test you. I said, okay, cool. What you going to do? They gave me a cell phone. They said, we're going to give you a cell phone. I think it was a Siemens S25, no internet, SMS only, 2-color screen, small little phone. Someone knows what I'm talking about, small little phone like this. And they said, all you've got to do is every time we phone you or anyone phones you, you don't ask who's phoning you, but when that phone rings, no matter what time of day or night, you pick it up. Whatever that person tells you to do, you do it. No questions. They call it being a runner. For 3 years, I did everything they told me to do on that phone when they phoned me. Now, I'm not going into details, guys, on what I did for those 3 years, because just when I tell you it was bad, trust me, it was bad. But I didn't care. I reveled in it. I enjoyed it. Like I said to God, I want to go and find those darkest places. I found them. And after 3 years, these guys came and said to me, you know what? You're born for this. This is natural to you. You actually blow our minds at how crazy you are when it comes to this kind of stuff. Just after 94, when apartheid ended and we had the change happening in South Africa, back in those days, I called the late 90s, I called it the Wild Wild West, because there was no surveillance cameras on the street corners. Cell phones weren't a big thing. There was Nokia 5110s, 3210s, Siemens C25s, all these little crazy phones. You guys can go and Google it if you want to go and see what an old phone looks like. And we could do anything we wanted. And these guys that I worked with were running distribution pipelines across the entire of South Africa, distributing to every street level thug, every gang. Every person who wanted good product was getting their product from these guys. And I was in this life. Now, I was in this life for 17 years, guys. From the age of 19 up to 36. Going from having everything that I could possibly want while I was doing this. But here's the thing, even in all of this excess that I had, every time I was alone, every time I was left alone by myself, if I have to be honest, that's why when I talk to people who say God doesn't exist, I go, nonsense. You know God exists, because I used to be alone in my darkest times. And when I was utterly alone and didn't have to put on a face for anyone, there was this feeling still with everything that I had. Something's not right. This is not me. It's not what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm not feeling fulfilled. I thought this is what I wanted with my life, but it's not. And I couldn't put my finger on it, but I knew something was amiss. Now, this is where the story really starts, because I don't want to talk about the darkness. I don't want to tell you all the funny, crazy things that I did, because that's not important. I just want you to understand that I was like Saul. I was one of the worst people on the planet to other people, doing crazy things. And somehow, I'm here today talking to you. And the craziest thing happened. I love spiders, guys. I don't know if I've got any other spider lovers here. What? There's one. Awesome stuff. I've got 4 pet tarantulas. Yes. Sorry? No, me. Yeah, no. Okay, wait, hang on. If you guys want to know about my drug use, 5,000 Rand a day, every day, non-stop, I was never sober. Yes. You see, in the world that I lived in, what I did, that's why the guys that I worked for said to me I was built for this, because when I started working for them, I took excess. I mean, I used to go, when I started really using 24/7, 3-4 tablets at a time, half an hour later, 3-4 tablets at a time, 3-4 tablets, then on top of that, cocaine, on top of that, LSD, on top of that, everything. And I forced myself to be able to do everything and still function normally, because I needed to be able to do that in order to survive. And I never wanted to be caught in a place where I could be vulnerable. So I had to handle what I was doing. And they used to say to me that my body was built to take drugs. But through all of that, I remember, now, like I said, I love spiders. I've got pet tarantulas. I don't have them in the Western Cape because they want to charge me crazy amounts of money for licenses to bring tarantulas to the Western Cape. I've got them up in Greytown. And I was bitten by a spider. Now, I have been called that in the past. But I was bitten by a sac spider. For those who want to know what a sac spider is, you can Google it. It's one of the most common spiders in South Africa. It's got a cytotoxic venom which attacks your muscle tissue, so you develop necrosis, which is a form of gangrene. And it's normally the secondary infection from not cleaning the wound that really gets you. And I was at one of my girlfriend's houses. Yeah, one of them. And I was busy spring cleaning. I wasn't one of those drug addicts that just did nothing. I was hyper all the time doing stuff. I am ADHD, so maybe that had something to do with it. But I was busy spring cleaning this house, and I remember dusting down the couch and the curtains, and then falling asleep on the couch for a couple of minutes, taking a nap, like my good mate Charles likes to do, take naps. That's a side joke just for Charles, no one else will get it. And I remember waking up and seeing this dead spider. Obviously, I'd rolled over and squashed it, but for those who want to see afterwards, I will show you. But it bit me on my hand here 6 times. I've got 6 little marks there, and then there's one big mark on my leg there. So I got bitten 7 times by this sac spider. Because I was high on drugs the whole time, it's nothing. My friends found me a week later in the bath seizing. They said to me I was as white as the bathroom porcelain in the bath. My face looked like a skeleton. They couldn't see my eyes, it was just black, and I was convulsing. Now, they're not really my friends, you must understand now. They're just going, we can't have this dead body in this house. How are we going to explain this? Let's get this guy out of the house while he's still alive, and we'll go drop him at the hospital. So they drive me to Northdale Hospital in Pietermaritzburg, one of the worst hospitals, government hospitals you can go to, and they throw me out the car door at the emergency there, and they leave me there, and they drive off. I get taken inside, and I'm trying to explain to people that it's a spider bite, but they do nothing. They give me a painkiller injection in my left back cheek over here, and I wait 16 hours before I get treatment. They book me into hospital. I remember the doctors keep telling me that it was some weird name. I had encephalitis in my left hand or something, because this finger was swelling up like a pork sausage about to burst. And they treated me for a couple of weeks. Every time I was supposed to go into theater, the doctors weren't there, the surgeon was AWOL, and I had to wait. And because I wasn't an extreme emergency case that was supposedly not life-threatening, I would be pushed to the back of the list when someone more important came in to get an operation. But they finally operated on this finger. They had to cut all of the sinew away here, so I've just got a whole lot of bone there. I can't bend it like I can this finger. My knuckles are fused, and it's a stick. I've got no feeling here. Now, that's just one of my injuries. I mean, while I was in my 17 years of crime, I have had, it's about 17 or 18 car accidents, written off 12 motorbikes. I've had nerve damage in my neck. I've had 76 stitches in my face, and numerous other things happen to my body through different gang initiations and everything like that. So I'm used to this kind of a thing. So I'm in hospital now with the spider bite. Now, here's the thing that happened, though. Because of the severity of the cytotoxic venom, and the amount of times I was bitten, and it took them such a long time to diagnose me properly because they kept thinking it was something else, I was in and out of hospital for almost 18 months. My immune system shut down, and it wouldn't start up again. So every time they kicked me out of the hospital because they needed the bed for somebody else, oh, no, he's okay, discharge him, I would leave, get sick, almost die, have to go back to hospital, or I'd leave, cut myself. The cut would get so infected because there's no immune system, I'd have to go back. So for 18 months, I was in and out of hospital fighting for my life. Had to stop dealing, had to leave the syndicate, was only doing a bit of marijuana on the side because I was too scared to take anything else because I was on triple antibiotics, and I was on the maximum amount of cc's they're allowed to give a person morphine every day to keep me out of pain. So I didn't want to contradict all of the medications they were giving me by still taking other stuff on top of that. So I had stopped everything except for cannabis. And I remember being in hospital, and there was this old lady that used to come and give me Reader's Digest magazines to read. And we developed a little bit of a relationship. Now, here's the thing. When I was in my darkest days, I could sit with Christians, guys. I'll sit with Christians, I'll talk to you about Jesus, debate the Bible with you, have fat conversations with you, no problem. Just don't pray for me. The one thing I wouldn't allow a Christian to do is to touch me Or even, can we pray for you, Vaughan? As soon as that came up in the conversation, hi guys, thank you very much for the conversation, cheers, I'm out of here and I'm gone. Why do you think that was? Somehow I knew the power of prayer, and I didn't want it. I was quite happy wallowing in my sin. And this old lady came to me the one day and she gave me a Reader's Digest, and I don't know what happened. To this day, I look back and I go, Lord, you've got a sense of humor, I think, even in my darkest times, because I remember this lady saying to me, Vaughan, can I pray for you? And before I could do anything, I went, yes. Now, I told you a little bit about my father. I didn't have a relationship with him. I hated him. He was a violent man. I didn't have any respect for him. And unfortunately, I didn't have the opportunity to make right with him before he died. He passed while I was still in my bad days. But she grabbed my hand after I said yes, and all she did was, Lord, reveal yourself to this boy like the father he never had. Amen. And she walked out the hospital. I was lying in the bed and I was like, what just happened? How did she even know to say that? I've never spoken about my dad to her. How did she even know to say that? Why would she say that? Why? Lord, reveal yourself to me like the father I never had? Really? Needless to say, that wasn't my conversion. I'm stubborn. But I did go to bed that night in the hospital. I don't know, maybe it was the morphine, maybe it wasn't. Depending on who you talk to, they'll say to you, just Vaughan on morphine, that's what he saw. But I saw this black and white movie flash before my eyes that entire night of everything that I'd done wrong. All the people that I'd hurt, all the families I'd destroyed, everything I'd done for those 17 years was like a movie on repeat in my mind. Somehow my conscience had been turned on after not having one for many, many, many years. Got discharged, finally got better. And I wasn't even out of hospital for about 5 or 6 weeks, and my sister phones me and says, your dad's dead, he just died of colon cancer. The last time I'd seen my dad was previously to me being in hospital, which was probably 3 years before he dropped dead. And I left him lying in a bloody, beaten up pulp on the ground after severely having a violent argument with him. And really, I'm not proud of that. It's something, because here's the thing, I know now, for the kids here, honor your mother and father is honor your mother and father whether they're good or bad. It's not only when they're good. You honor them regardless of whether they are abusive, whether they're treating you badly. It doesn't matter. If you're a Christian and you're under your parents, you honor them regardless. I didn't have the chance to do that with my dad. And I thought I'd be happy when my sister told me this, but I fell down on the floor, started sobbing like a baby, crying, then got hold of myself and went, no, man, what's wrong with you? Let's throw a party, because Dad's dead now. Now, you must understand, I hadn't been doing any heavy drugs. I was away from the scene, and I got hold of some guys that were promoters in Durban. We hired a place on the beachfront called Zach's. We threw a party called Trance Heaven. I got a DJ from the Netherlands called Max Angel. Don't know why they were called that, but anyway. And the crazy thing is my old Facebook profile that I got locked out of, that I no longer have access to and can't delete, the final thing on that profile is me advertising this party. So it's like a reminder every time I go back there to what happened. And now I'd been off drugs for a long time. I remember being at this party, my finger was still bandaged up, the bone was still exposed. And the same thing happened. Girl came running up to me going, Vaughan, why are you only drinking beer? What's wrong with you? There's an ecstasy tablet. Took ecstasy. Needless to say, from there, things just went completely south. I phoned all the guys that I used to work with. None of them wanted to have anything to do with me. After working with me for 17 years, guys, I'm out of hospital now. I want to carry on where I left off. Let's get this thing on the road again. No, sorry, your time is done. All the doors were closing, and I couldn't understand why these doors were closing. From having everything, all the power, everyone was scared of me. If you want to understand the kind of person that I was, the best way I can explain it without going into detail is when people spoke about me and they said, describe him, how would you say he is? People would say, and I was proud of this, I'm not proud of this now, people would say, Satan is just keeping Vaughan's throne warm for him for when he gets back to hell to take over. That's how people describe me in how bad I was, that I was worse than the devil. The devil had nothing on me. That should tell you a little bit about my character back in those days. But none of these guys wanted to have anything to do with me. Now I've got nothing. I've lost everything. I sell the last little bit of stuff that I've got left because now I don't want to say that I was suicidal, but I didn't care if I died. None of my old friends and syndicate members wanted to have anything to do with me. So all I did was phone the worst of the worst people, the parasites, the guys that if you had something for them, they would give you a place to stay for a couple of days. Hey guys, it's Vaughan. I've got heroin, I've got crack, let's go. Okay, cool, come to our house. Go crazy for 3 or 4 days, then they get tired of me, kick me out. And I just kept spiraling out of control like that until eventually all my money was finished and I had nothing. I went from being this very powerful guy to all of a sudden being homeless on the street, from the spider biting me and going on this journey. And this was towards the end of 2014. And I don't really want to call myself homeless because I really was only homeless for 4 nights. But I slept in a petrol station toilet. I used to hug the porcelain at night because I couldn't sleep stretched out. Guys would see my hands and feet in the other cubicle, so I had to close the door and pretend like I was just sleeping in one cubicle and maybe someone was just in the toilet. And I remember waking up on the 4th morning, and again, whoever I speak to, they'll go, it was just your body going through withdrawals. I don't know, I think it was something more than that. It felt like someone had found me and literally physically shaken me. And I remember waking up in this petrol station and thinking, security has found me, I'm in trouble now, they're going to call the cops, or something's going to happen. There was no one there. I hadn't been to church in 17 years, hadn't opened my Bible in 17 years. I was the furthest from God, knew nothing about him, knew nothing about his character or anything like that. I knew he was there. And this craziest thing was the first 2 things, and they were foreign. When they popped into my head, I was like, where did that come from? What is going on here? The first thing was repent. The second thing was confess. And I was like, wait, hang on, you're going dilly, buddy. Something wrong here. Wait, where is this coming from? And I had this crazy feeling like I'd never had before in my life where if I died now, I'm going to hell. I'm going to be separated from my Creator. And I'd never had that kind of a feeling before, because before going to hell was, if I died, I've had people put guns to my head and me grab the gun and say, shoot me, or I'm going to take this gun from you, I'm going to beat you to death with your own pistol. I wasn't scared to die, and I knew I was going to hell. All of a sudden now, I'm scared to die and go to hell. And I had this little thing where if you thought that my grace was sufficient for you and there was mercy, there's from today nothing. If you die now, this is it. You decide now in this petrol station toilet what you want to do. Did I accept Jesus? No. I was like, okay, I need to figure out what this repentance and confession is. And I remember walking out the toilet and I had this little MTN ZTE phone, another little crazy little phone that just has SMS functions. No one knew that I was homeless. No one knew that number. And a lady phoned me from Howick, outside Pietermaritzburg. And the thing is, I worked in hotels for a few years, and I met her. She was a singer at our restaurants. She used to do the tours and sing at all the different hotels during lunch times and stuff like that. One of these really, really cool lady. Very hippie, new agey kind of auntie, but really, really cool. I get a phone call from her, and she goes, Vaughan, I hear that you are living in a petrol station toilet and you're homeless. I go, yes. How did you know? Someone saw you sitting outside at the table during the day and you looked really down and out and everything. Somehow they found out that you were homeless and they told me. I'm driving down from Howick now to come and fetch you. I've got a granny flat that you can stay in at my house. I'm going, wait. I get woken up, repent, confess, thinking about I'm going to die, go to hell, then this happens. Something's going on here. She rocks up in a little Nissan 1400 Champ. I get in the seat, and there's a 6-pack of Black Label and a joint. And I'm like, okay, wait, hang on. I'm pretty sure I'm not supposed to be doing this, but it's fine. Have a joint, have a Black Label, go back to her place. Was there for a couple of days. And I knew that what I was doing was wrong. And I went to her and I said, listen, thank you for everything that you're doing for me, but I can't carry on like this. And she said, what are you talking about? I said, no, I need to find out who God is. And I don't know what happened, but this lady just changed. The next thing, she was screaming at me, if you want to be one of those bigoted Christians who is judging everyone and you think everyone's going to hell and there's only one way to heaven and that's through Jesus, you can't stay on my property anymore. I was like, whoa, okay, I don't know where that came from, but anyway. So now I was getting kicked out from her place. I didn't know what to do. It was close to the end of the year, 2014. I go onto Facebook. I'm thinking now, who do I know that might be? And I remember as a young boy when I was in church, There was a guy that lived out in Ashburton. His dad was a pastor. He used to throw a festival over New Year's. Went and looked him up. Hey, Grant Nelson, there he is. Okay, let me try and get hold of him. His number was listed on Facebook. I phoned him. I said, Grant, I need help. Fawn, hey, what, you're still alive? Jeez, I thought you were dead. And I'm like, yeah. Depending on how you look at it, I've been dead for 17 years. But I need help. You're a Christian, your dad's a pastor. No, I can't help you. Wait, but you're a Christian. You're supposed to help me. What's going on here? No, I know who you are. I know what you've been involved in. I'm married. I've got children. I can't have you anywhere near me because I don't want to put my family in danger. I'm like, bro, you're a Christian. Your dad's a pastor. Help me. I've got nowhere to go. I'm going to be kicked out. I need to find out who God is. Okay. You know what? We've got a men's camp coming up just before Christmas. It's for 3 days. You can come with us to the camp. And depending on what happens there, we'll give you a chance. I go to the camp, I sit at the back of all the meetings, smoke cigarettes around the corner, thinking that my attitude is hundreds. After the camp, Grant says to me, bro, you didn't even try. This was terrible. He says, I can't help you anymore. He says, where do you want to go? I said, Grant, I've got nowhere to go. I don't know, where am I supposed to go? Now, you must understand, we are approaching New Year's, end of 2014. It's holiday season. Everyone's got things that they're doing. And he says, I know this lady. She's a Christian psychologist. She's got a halfway house for drug addicts in Pietermaritzburg. Let me take you there. I don't want to go to a halfway house for drug addicts. I'm not a drug addict. Did 5,000 rands worth of drugs a day for 17 years, but I'm not a drug addict. Right. Takes me to this house. I walk in, and while I'm walking up the driveway, there's guys making out over here, guys smoking cigarettes over here. Now, I'm the worst of the worst people, but I'm thinking now, that's not Christian. That's not Christian. Wait, am I even allowed to say that's not Christian? Because I don't even know what Christian is, but something inside of me is going, they shouldn't be acting like that. Get into this lady's house, and no offense to anyone who might be slightly overweight, she wasn't slightly overweight, she was Jabba the Hutt size from Star Wars. She had to be lifted up by 2 people to sit up. She sits up, starts lighting cigarettes. I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, Christian? Okay, but I can't be judgmental. Who am I? I'm the worst person on the planet. And I'm sitting with my cap turned back, with my sunglasses on, with my elbows on my knees, and she psychoanalyzes me. She goes, your attitude stinks. You've got sunglasses on, your elbows are on your knees. You're not really here because you want help. You're here because you've got nowhere else to go. Now, I had a plastic bag with a pair of board shorts and a vest in it, and I was wearing my other set of clothing. That's all I owned. And she says, when you lose that plastic bag, you would have then hit rock bottom. At the moment, you're not at rock bottom yet. I don't know if I can help you. So I said to her, listen, my rock bottom's got nothing to do with this plastic bag. Here's my rock bottom here. I said, I need to change this thing. My heart, there's something wrong here. I'm not worried about this clothing, this plastic bag. You can take it, burn it, whatever you want to do. I said, there's something wrong here. So she calls everyone in, and they all make a circle in this room, and it's typical rehab nonsense. They go around in the circle and tell Vaughan what's wrong with his life. None of these people know me. For those that do know me from the world, they immediately leave the room and they say, we're not saying anything to that guy, because they're still going, hey, this guy might just kill me when he walks out from here. So they start pointing fingers at me and talking nonsense, and I just stood up and I said, you know what? I'm sorry, but you can't help me. Grant, thank you for bringing me. I pick up my bag and I walk out. And I'm walking down New England Road in Pietermaritzburg, and the next thing, car stops next to me and Grant says, get in. I'm like, what now? He's like, get in, this is your last chance. Last chance. So I get in, and we start driving out towards Greytown. I'm thinking, where? This guy's taking me to one of those weird, crazy rehabs on a farm somewhere where they do labor on the farm and work you like a freaking criminal, and they pretend like they're trying to help you, but it's a big scam. I don't know where I'm going, but we're going there. And I remember pulling through Greytown, going through towards Kranskorp, and I remember seeing this factory on the one side. I didn't realize that was the Aquele water factory where they make Aquele. And stops at this boom gate, gets me out the car, and as I get out the car, wheel spins away and he's gone. And I'm like, wow, okay. So this was 31st of December, 2014, New Year's Eve, around 5:30 in the afternoon. So I walk through the security checkpoint, I go into the main reception, and there's A very distinguished elderly black gentleman behind the reception, can I help you? I'm like, not too sure where I am or what I'm doing here, but I'm looking for help. You're in the wrong reception. I'm like, jeez, what is wrong with these people? I'm just looking for help, and everyone's got such bad attitudes. It's my attitude, not theirs, really. And he says, just walk out this reception, go around the section here, walk down a dirt road, you'll see a cell phone tower. To the left of the cell phone tower, there'll be another little building. You walk in there, there'll be a desk that says SIPSA on it, Concerned Young People of South Africa. And he says, speak to the lady there. Sheesh, okay, I don't know what's wrong with these people, but anyway. So I go down, find this place, walk in. There's a nice lady, Anita, standing there. There's another nice little lady, Auntie Busi. She's standing there, little spectacles on, looks like a teacher. Really, really cool face. And I remember walking in here, and these two ladies just looked at me and went, phew, okay, here comes trouble. Can we help you? And I said, yeah, actually, I don't know if you can help me. I'm actually duck now. Tired of all this nonsense. I just need help. They said, well, what do you need help with? I said, well, I've got an issue, I've got problems, I've been in syndicated crime for 17 years, and, oh, you're a drug addict. No, I'm not a drug addict. What do you mean you're not a drug addict? People come here for help with heroin addiction. I said, no. I said, listen, I did 5,000 rands of the drugs for 17 years. I'm not a drug addict. I could stop anytime I wanted. Sometimes I'd stop for 6 months, sometimes I'd stop for a year. I was in control of everything. Wasn't an addict. She looks at me and she goes, okay, so if drugs weren't your problem, then what is? What are you doing here? So I said to her, listen, I said, let me just try and explain to you what I'm feeling. I said, like I said in my presentation, drugs are just a symptom. I said, drugs aren't my issue, because I've done a lot worse things than drugs. Trust me, I don't have time for that now, but I can. If I've got a chance to stay here, I will tell you the stories. I need help. I've got a problem here. I need to change my heart, and I don't know how to do that. And I'm just looking for help. She looks at me and she goes, okay, well, I haven't really heard that one before, because most of the guys that come here are kicked out of their communities because they were heroin junkies and they're stealing microwaves and toasters. And I said, no, I was way, way worse than that. But I need help. And I said, I'm not here because I need to go to a drug addiction center. I don't believe in rehabs. I need help, and I don't know if you guys can help me. And she looked at me and she said, you don't know where you are, do you? I said, what is wrong with all this cryptic people talking all nonsense like this? She says, sit down. And I sit down, and she takes my hand and she says, do you know what a mission station is? I said, no, not really. She says, okay, well, this is a mission station. Yes, we help boys with heroin addiction and people with problems, but our main thing is to help you with your relationship with God. And it was like everything just started clicking while she was saying this to me. And I said to her, you don't understand. I can't even explain to you what road I've traveled to get to this point on the 31st of December, 2014, sitting here talking to you right now. But I said the best way I can describe it is that I've been like a pinball in a pinball machine. And I've just been smashed around all over the place uncontrollably with no path or correction or anything, just out of control everywhere, and I don't know why it's happening. And I said to her, but now that I'm sitting with you here right now, I'm realizing that God's the flippers. He's the one that's been smashing me to all these different places, going to all these different things to get me right here, right now. I got down on my hands and knees at 11:37 p.m. that night, and I asked God into my heart. And I said, Lord, when I wake up on January 2015, I want to be a new person. I want to know who you are. I've done crazy things, and you know that better than anyone. But for the rest of my life, if you just promise to take care of me, I don't want anything else. Just allow me to do your work until I die. Allow me to make up for everything. Now, obviously, that's not how it works, but I didn't know the full concept of the relationship with Jesus yet. I was still not even there yet. And I remember getting down on my hands and knees and asking God into my heart, going to bed that night, waking up on the 1st of January 2015, and I don't know. All I can say is people that spoke to me, that knew me from my previous life, especially if it was on the phone, they would freak out. and go, sorry, who is this? This is not Vaughan. It's Vaughan, but it's not Vaughan. This is like Invasion of the Body Snatchers. And I'd be like, what do you mean? They're like, bro, you've been talking to us for like 5 minutes. You haven't sworn once. I'm like, huh? They're like, no. You don't understand. You were one of those people that would invent ways to put swear words into sentences and come up with the most colorful ways to swear all the time. You're not swearing. And the way you're talking is just very different to the person that we remember. I was like, okay, I didn't even notice. God gave me an opportunity from those first few weeks of me being saved. I got to work for an organization called Doctors for Life International, which is a medical outreach organization. They go and do cataract surgeries in Africa. They've got a medical clinic in Zavora in Mozambique. And I had no experience in what I was supposed to be doing there. I was employed to work in their media department to help them transition from video cassettes and DVDs to MP3s, MP4s, start social media pages. I had never done that in my life before. But while I was sitting and talking to Dr. Albie, the CEO, for the interview to work with Doctors for Life, I told him my entire life story. I mean, I was supposed to go see him for breakfast on a Saturday morning, and I ended up talking with him until supper time. And he asked me all the dark details. He wanted to know everything that had happened during those 17 years. He wanted me to tell him. And I glossed over a very short time in my life when I was 18. For 3 months, I worked at a graphic design studio. That for less than 5 minutes of our entire conversation. But somehow he picked up on that. And he said, you sounded happy when you were doing that. I said, yeah. He says, well, I'm going to hire you. You're going to sign a work contract. I'm going to pay you. And you're going to run social media, do this for me. I said, I don't know how to do any of this stuff, Dr. Albie. He said to me, listen, I don't care. You learn on the job. This is God ordained. I believe that you're supposed to be here. I've been on 19 mission trips throughout Africa now. In the last 10 years, I've been saved, because this year was 10 years of me being saved in Christ. God, from that point in my life, like I said, it's taken me 9 years to study 2 masters. I started my company, Decent Digital Solutions, at the height of COVID, when I had nothing, no startup capital, and God blessed that. I now just registered a new business called What the Digital, which is a consultancy firm. I still can't understand how you charge people an hourly rate just to talk to them, but apparently it's a thing. The main thing is this that I want to get to. From that point of the 31st of December 2014 till this point of me speaking to you right now, I have never ever wanted anything more than my salvation that I got on that night, on the 31st of December. When people ask me, Vaughan, you know, why don't you ask God for more? And I'm like, I don't understand why I would want anything more than knowing that even if I died in a cardboard box today on the side of the street as a homeless person, I'm going to heaven. What more could I possibly want? What more could I possibly want? Anything that he does for me above that is a bonus. If he gives me opportunities to go out and speak to people, if he gives me opportunities to stand here in front of you today and share a bit of my story, which is really his story, because the reason why I told you about all the few bad things to give you this sort of black and white opposite kind of thing is what I was showing to you guys in the slides there. Addiction, drug addiction, whether you come from a broken background, the world's methods of treating that is not how you treat that. It doesn't help. Because I've seen guys go into drug addiction centers, come out, go back, go out, go back, do the same thing, learn more when they're in there to come out and do worse. Guys go to prison, come out and be worse criminals because they learn how to be worse criminals in prison. The world does not have any of these answers. I know what the answer is because no one came to me and gave me a tract or said, Jesus loves you. I was in a filthy petrol station toilet and somehow God in all of his glory and splendor came down to that hole and he found me there. And he said, hey, let's go. I want you to be my child. And I'm here today because of that. For those that know me, you can ask the guys that I've been working with for years or for the friends that have known me for years. They will tell you that it is so crazy when they hear me talk about this other part of my life before I was saved. Because, and I was saying this to the guys this afternoon, if I'm in the shower and there's a little spider or a fly on the wall that might get wet and drowned, I stop the shower, put it into a cup, take it out. I don't want it to die. I love animals. I love people. I don't like people, if I have to be honest with you. If I could be left alone on an island somewhere, I would, just with a bunch of animals. But it's not about that. You see, I've learned that the Father that I serve gave us his Son who died on a cross for us. That's not a cliche. That is something very serious. And it's because of that that I'm here today. But he also gave us a command: go out into all the world and make disciples. And that's why I'm standing in front of you today, because I'm actually an introvert. I don't like talking in front of people. I don't like doing this kind of thing. I get very dick of people, and God has told me, I'm not asking you emotionally to love them. I'm commanding you to love them, regardless of how comfortable or uncomfortable you are. Hopefully it makes you uncomfortable, because when you're uncomfortable, you tend to do things more. You seize opportunities. When you're comfortable, you lose those opportunities because you're too comfortable. And my story tonight for you guys is this. For all the youngsters that are here, I really, really pray and hope that you have a relationship with Jesus. For the parents that are here who don't have their youngsters here, for the grandparents that are here, make sure you seize an opportunity to speak to your youngsters, because I want them all to know Jesus. I want all of you guys here to know Jesus. I want you guys to experience what I've experienced, and it's not about this amazing story. Because like I said to you before, I sat with a bunch of missionary kids who are third-generation Christians who grew up, did missionary work, studied, got married, had kids, and their kids are now being trained in the way that they should go. And they go to me, Vaughan, my life's been boring. I don't have a story like yours. You don't want a story like mine. You don't. When I hear a person tell me their testimony that, Vaughan, my parents taught me about Jesus. When I was 12, I gave my heart to the Lord, and I've been serving him faithfully my entire life, and I've never fallen. I look at that, and I get emotional, and I want to cry, because I go, that is an amazing story. Easy for me to fall. Easy to fall. We are built to fall. But to stay the course, like I said earlier, very difficult. And I think you can catch this through what I've been saying to you guys tonight. Your relationship with Jesus, for me, is the most important thing. I mean, I do public speaking. I work with multiple radio stations across the country. I'm involved in some of the biggest things and the smallest things, whether it's community work on an individual level or on a national level. I've done so much, and I can tell you guys so many stories of instances where God has really, really used my obedience. Not used me, just used the fact that I've gone, okay, I'll do it even if I don't feel like doing it. And he's honored that, because I've had opportunities to speak on radio, and some of those opportunities have come even when I didn't want to do them. And I did them anyway, and I gave my testimony on radio about me losing a child to abortion, gave out my WhatsApp number, and I'm glossing through the story just because I want to get to the end. And I didn't feel like doing this radio interview, but I did it anyway. And I didn't feel like giving my WhatsApp number out on radio, and this was 6 years ago. Because crazy people are going to phone me. It's going to make me uncomfortable as a Christian. I just want to talk, or if I don't want to talk, it's fine. But somehow I got onto radio, I did this 10-minute interview, spoke about some pro-life issues, and there was a lady in her late 30s that was walking out of her shack in Wabidat in Chatsworth, one of the worst areas in the community. And as she was walking out the door, she was 11 weeks pregnant. She was about 39 then. And 12 weeks is the cutoff time for the Termination of Pregnancies Act in South Africa. So she had to get to the clinic and have her baby terminated. And she just happened to turn on the radio, and it turned on to Good News Community Radio, 93.6 FM in Durban. And she heard this guy talking about being adopted and then losing his child to abortion and then giving out his WhatsApp number. And I didn't want to do that interview that day. I was really not in the mood to be on the phone and talk, but I did it anyway. I was obedient, even with a bad attitude. And she ends up WhatsApping me and saying, please phone me now, I don't have airtime. And I phoned her back and she said, Vaughan, I don't know who you are, but I heard your story. I was walking out the door to go and kill my baby, and I heard your story. I need help. That little girl, I almost said their names, I want to leave their names out of it, but if you guys want to know who she is, you can come and see me afterwards and I'll show you pictures, because I love this. It's the most amazing thing, and I'll end with this, and I mean, I really want to end with this because I know you guys have been sitting here a long time. But She phoned me, I phoned her back. She didn't have the abortion, but here's the thing. It didn't stop there, you see, because the first thing that she said to me was, well, who's going to help me? And I said, it's fine. I'll help you. I'll get a group of ladies that I know to help you. And we've been supporting her with her little child. Her little daughter's 5 years older now. She's just about to start going to grade R or grade RR. And that little girl not being aborted has changed her life, changed her family's life, changed all of their lives. But I took ownership of that situation, and I didn't just talk, I actually acted. And for those of you guys that are into church history, you can go back in history to the first 10 generations of the church after Paul died and see how they flipped Rome on its head through just being Christian. Not talking, just acting as Christians should act. And that is where I want to leave you with. We can't just be Christians. If we've got a relationship with Jesus, we're supposed to be acting out our faith Monday to Saturday, not on a Sunday morning only in church. And we don't know what opportunities God's going to use to infect other people with that good news message and change their lives. Not through us being great people, just through us being obedient and letting the Holy Spirit use us to plant a seed and letting that seed grow. And wouldn't it be great if we all got to heaven one day and we just had strangers running up to us and going, you know what, that day when you were leaving Spa, I was that teller in a bad mood and you just came and gave me a hug and said, hey, Jesus loves you. And somehow a seed was planted, and 3-4 years later, they gave their heart to the Lord. And it was those little things that sometimes we don't feel like doing that we should be doing. So I don't know if all of that has made sense. I like to jump around, not on purpose, but I am a little bit ADHD, so I do tend to lose the plot. But I hope that was encouraging for you guys. I hope you can see that God doesn't use complete people. He uses broken people. And that we as the church, not because we want to be social justice warriors, need to take ownership of all of these different things that I've touched on, from drug addiction to pro-life issues to human trafficking, and use them as opportunities to be there for people and not just talk about it, but actually help people to come to know Jesus through our actions and not our words. And if God can use me, trust me, He can use you guys, no problem, because I'm the worst of the worst. And if He can take me and use me, He can use you guys.